Welcome to OBM Unscripted, where the systems get sassy, tech tantrums are tamed, and real talk rules the mic.
We're your hosts. I'm Christy Beard, your go-to strategist and business coach.
I'm Benita Brooks, your operations and tech whisperer.
And I'm Lena May, the guru of systems and workflow magic.
We're all accredited OBMs, and we have seen it all.
If you've ever wanted to scream into a client brief, cry over Zapier, or Google, "Can I invoice for emotional labor?" you're in the right place.
This is your space for behind-the-scenes stories, hot takes, and community vibes for OBMs, VAs, and online service bosses.
Real talk, real answers.
Unfiltered,
Unscripted.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back to OBM Unscripted. Today we are talking about the trouble with perfectionism. If you've ever spent 3 hours editing an SOP that nobody ever opened, this episode is for you. Let's start off this morning by getting real about what perfectionism is and why it's not about having high standards, but it's really about fear. Fear of being judged, fear of getting it wrong, or fear of not being enough. It's costing you more than you think as an OBM, and today we're going to explore this topic. Well, Christy, we're going to start with you today. Why do you think perfectionism runs so deep in the OBM world?
I think because doing what we do, I think the underlying reason is because we want to help people. And we want what we do to be presented well, to for them to like it, for it to be useful, for it to actually help them in their business. And I think we can definitely get stuck in the overthinking, overworking mentality to where we can almost undo the good work that we did initially by second guessing ourselves.
I agree. I actually, earlier this week, I saw a LinkedIn post, which was so fascinating, I had to repost it. It was, and apologies, the author's name is escaping me right now, but she proposed a theory that executive assistants are in their field and they probably have some sort of trauma in their past. And when I thought about it, that kind of applies to OBMs too. Because when you have some sort of trauma, then you're always looking at the systems and trying to figure out what's going to happen before it happens. You're anticipating other people's needs. You're trying to fix things. So that was just a really interesting take that I never considered before, that a lot of people in this space probably get into it because they didn't realize that being able to organize and anticipate everything is actually a skill that may have come from their past trauma.
I know for me, because I call myself a recovering perfectionist, what I didn't realize early on in my career is that it was creating a lot of resentment toward the people I was helping because I spent so much time on things and they never looked at it. They never opened it. They never applied it. And that's part of being an OBM, is being okay letting some of that go. So it was a tough lesson for me to learn, but it's also when I started letting go of trying to be a perfectionist, because we're all human. We all make mistakes.
I think it's a bit of a double-edged sword, to be honest, because when you're an entrepreneur, of course, you realize that you have competition out there. So you do want to be the best at everything. You do want to make yourself stand out, and you want to differentiate yourself from everybody else who's doing the same thing. So that perfectionism kind of creeps in that way, inadvertently, because, you want to do well in your profession. But at the same time, it's kind of also internally driven, where when is enough actually enough? Where is the line between trying to achieve that excellence versus going too far, second guessing every decision you make, refusing to hit send on that email because you've read it 50 times and you're not sure you got the tone quite right? I think there's a fine line and a balance in between the two.
Yeah, I agree. I think I am a perfectionist, so I get it. But I think the last few years, I have embraced the phrase, done is better than perfect. We're never going to have it right. You can always come back and revisit something, and, most times we will, but it doesn't mean that we have to sit there for 20 hours looking at a subject line before we hit send on the email.
I think something that also makes it worse is just social media in general, because whether you're on Instagram, you're on Facebook, you're on LinkedIn, you're getting someone's highlight reel. You're getting their highs, but very rarely are people actually posting their lows and the messy middle and what all of that actually looks like. So when you're constantly fed this stream of thought that, look, they've got it all together, how come I don't have it together? And then you end up putting that pressure on yourself because that's what you're constantly being exposed to. I think that makes it worse. So sometimes unplug, like get away from social media, get off of LinkedIn, and start focusing on you and your business and kind of how you're running things. Because yeah, it's nice to look at it, at an arm's length and kind of get that inspiration and get some ideas, and it's great. But when you get too heavily involved in it, you start to take that on and you put that pressure on yourself that, oh my gosh, such and such has their whole life together. And look at me, I can't even get this email sent because I'm saying it wrong. And there's like a lot of added pressure out there now with AI coming up and people using AI to use their posts. You have that subset of people who are now looking at every single post, searching for the M dashes and waiting to call people out. Oh, you used AI, and it just becomes very toxic in those spaces. So sometimes just take a step away and refocus and recalibrate.
I think early on, and Christy, not to pick on you because I went through this too, especially when we met, we were all going through this thought process of it has to be perfect before I turn it in. It has to be perfect. It's not good enough. We would check in with each other and realize, hey, well, they have the same thing I have. Just because it's right to us doesn't mean it's right to the client either. The client may have something different in mind. And for me, that fear of releasing the unperfect work was really holding me back in the beginning. And I had to be okay with feedback. It's not them telling me, oh no, this is completely wrong. It's them telling me, hey, Lena, I had something else in mind. They may not have said it that way, so I took it too personally. Now I can say, oh, okay, they had a different direction. Now I have more clarity. Now we can move forward. But let me ask you guys, what is one perfectionist trap that you tend to catch yourself in now?
That's a good question.
I think for me, it's still the double, triple, quadruple checking of the work, making sure that I've gotten every single angle. I do this, and I know I do this, and I did it just as recently as a few weeks ago. Lena, you know this situation when I was dealing with the client or potential client. I went back and looked up the meeting transcripts. I looked up the emails. I did like a forensic deep dive on everything that was said because I was so afraid that what I was going to say was not the right thing or how I was going to handle it is not the right way to handle it. And I tend to do that. And I know I do that, but now I try to catch myself to be like, okay, stop and take a breath, go for a walk, get out of this space for a second before you start your forensic analysis and just clear your brain. Then you can come back, and sometimes you don't have to go back and check all the transcripts and emails and paper trail and to figure out what went wrong. Sometimes it just is what it is, and that's okay.
Yeah, I agree. I think that it's so easy to get stuck in the trap of it isn't good enough and overthinking what you know is good work. But like you guys said, it's when it comes time to turn it in, what are they going to think? Are they going to like it? Is this even really what we discussed in the call? And I've done the same thing. I've went over like everything. I've spent hours rewatching the chats and the videos and the discovery calls, and I will even mince the words. It's like, okay, so they wanted this, but did they want it included, or was that like maybe for later? And you just get to where you overthink it to the point that you potentially put out bad work because you're not really focusing on the work at that point. You're focusing on how they're going to perceive the work, and that can really mess you up.
So have either of you lost revenue because you were afraid to turn it into the client?
Yes, and I can tell you exactly how. When I was putting my pricing packages together, I did not have confidence or faith that my work product was worth it. That perfectionist trap lost me revenue because, again, going back and the client's like, I can't believe you're charging only this much and you've done all of this. It took the client to say that I was undervaluing myself. And a lot of clients won't even bother to say that. They'll internally think, wow, this is a deal. And they're not going to say a word. Some people could go months, years undercharging for their services, which is a premium quality product. I think in growing my business, I was able to kind of get over that speed bump where when it was just myself, I was like, oh, I can take the cut. It's fine. But now there are other people depending on that salary to provide their services. I've gotten a lot more comfortable with my prices now.
Yeah, I've definitely got stuck in the trap of the delegation. And it's so funny because I tell my clients that you can grow if you delegate and you can't wear all the hats all the time. And I was finding that for me, it was just easier for me to do it myself. Even though I had the SOPs that back in my day, it would have been a huge production to record the training process. And now you just use your phone. It's a lot easier to do. And I think that has helped me to let go, but it's also a way that I help my clients to let go. And because it is easy to get in that trap of, I'm the only one that can do it. It's all in my head. You just don't understand. Let me do it. It's quicker, and that is also a trap of perfectionism.
What have you learned now about being confident and pushing forward?
I think that when you really bring your skills and apply it to your own business as if you're looking at a client's business, it helps smooth out a lot of these road bumps that you get along the way. So it really does make a difference when you do that on the front end and then you systemize everything. It's having that balance between making sure your processes are running smoothly and you're confident in your work product that you can kind of go forward.
Yeah, I'll just add to that and say that it's not being so much a perfectionist when you take the time to set up good foundational systems. That is something that we should do. I agree. You can, however, go overboard and do a little more like what I did and set everything up before I worried about clients. And so I think you need to have a happy medium. That's where a lot of my clients come in because they're at that point where they're busting at the seams and they have a good thing, but they didn't stop to take the time to finish or to put the foundational things in place. And any good foundational system should grow with you where you're not having to revamp the entire system as you grow or as you pivot. That part I would say is not being so much a perfectionist as it would be future thinking.
As OBMs, since we have the urge to make sure everything's nice and polished, how do you guys make that shift? Trading control of polishing into standards of this is okay the way it is. Let me just go ahead and send it to the client.
As a perfectionist and an operational person, I have templates for everything. And those templates, while they take time to set up initially, that's what allows me to be the perfectionist that I am because I can take the time to sit down and figure out exactly what I want, put it together, and then all it is later is a matter of plug and play. I have created templates that allow me to not second guess myself as much when it comes to delivering to the clients.
Agreed. Templates are a lifesaver. We all work from a framework of sorts. So even though, like, for example, if I'm doing a discovery call with a client, I have a process of questions that I need to ask. That's the template. And then if I'm doing a tech stack review, I have a set of criteria that I'm looking for. That's the template. So even though we are a lot of times building custom solutions for our clients, there are some things that serve as a baseline that you don't have to continuously question. Did I ask that? Did I get that information? What did they say about that? So as you keep going through it, you end up systemizing the baseline. And then from there, it's just input, input, input. And then you work the custom strategy from that point. So 100% agree on the templates.
We've talked a little bit about the tools that we use, the systems, the templates, the workflow. What mindset keeps you or helps you release control of perfectionism? I think the final takeaway here is great work as an OBM. It isn't perfect. It's clear, it's timely, it's effective, and don't get stuck in the polish spiral. Just go ahead and send it to the client and wait for feedback.
100% feedback is actually where you will figure out what they think of your work. And it doesn't matter what we think because our minds are, we internalize a lot as OBMs. And when we finally do put that work out there, it's out there. And so now let's just sit back and see what they think. And they'll probably love it. But in our minds, we're thinking they're going to hate it. They're going to hate it. They're going to hate it or not like it. And it turns out it's usually never that bad.
So we're going to wrap it up. Listeners down below, tag us with your biggest perfectionist trap and how you've dealt with it or made it something better, because we'd love to learn from you too. And otherwise, we will see you guys next week. Be sure to like, subscribe, and follow. Bye, y'all.
Bye.